I told my 35 female husband, 37 female, that we should get a divorce so he can marry his late wife tombstone plus update. I, 35 years old, married my hubby, 37 years old, 10 years ago. He had been married to L for 2 years prior to our connection, 22 female. Unfortunately, she died as a result of ongoing health concerns. I met my spouse 5 years after she died. I had some reservations about his love past at the start of our relationship. To put it frankly, I was having difficulty embracing my husband's background and the fact that he did not cease loving his late wife, but was forced to. I went to treatment for a year to treat it, and I was able to conquer it. My spouse is aware of this and has been extremely supportive of me and the therapy. I now believe Elle and I would have been wonderful friends. The problem is that after 10 years of marriage, we've had a lot of conflicts because of poor communication. We simply tend to inflate things out of proportion. Since around 3 months, whenever we have a dispute, he takes the vehicle and drives away for many hours. When I asked him where he went, he said he's going to visit her Elle. This is unusual for him, since he only visits Elle's cemetery 3 times a year at most. I then requested him not to flee every time we fought and to kindly notify me when he goes to the cemetery so that we may go together. He just shrugged me off. He's been doing this for months, and it's killing me. The sentiments I resisted during the first year of our relationship have returned. I am always unhappy, and I weep at night. But my hubby simply disappears for hours at a time. At this point, I believe he is acting more out of spite than anything else. I had hit my limit the day before. We battled about garbage, that's how trivial our disagreements were. He left at 4 p.m. and returned at 11 p.m. I waited for him in the dining room. The combination was as follows. Me, what were you doing? HP, I went back to see her. Me, I've told you several times how your actions have harmed me, yet you continue to do so. HB, you won't be able to stop me, so we can get a divorce. That way, if you care more about Elle's gravestone than our marriage, you may marry it. When I stated it, I could see the look of surprise on his face. I apologized right away, but I don't believe he heard me. I noticed how he began to weep. He has been confined in his office since yesterday and would not go. I'm feeling like the biggest AH of all time. What I said was a low blow and something very heinous. I assaulted him where I knew he'd be harmed. At the same time, a part of me believes that what he is suffering now is just a fraction of what he has been putting me through for months. On the day I got engaged, I really made a pledge to Elle, telling her, "You may take care of him from heaven, and I will take care of him here on earth." That commitment was broken by me. Is it possible for me to save this relationship? Edit. A Redditor suggested I include this in article. After 8 years of trying, we discovered out I was pregnant 3 months ago. Even though we both wanted for a kid, he has been noticeably agitated and reactive since the finding. Edit. Before I go with the update, I wanted to clarify something. In the first year of our relationship, I was just jealous of Elle, but, as I have said, I worked through it in counseling. Throughout my marriage to my husband, I've thrown meals in her honor, bought grave decorations, urged my husband to reconcile with his previous in-laws, and even included her in my Don de Muertos altar with my family members. Even though I've never met her, I consider her a friend. The most recent update. We agreed to a temporary separation since we still don't know how we're going to co-parent and such. He emerged from his office shortly after I posted. I cooked us both supper and we spoke about it, for what it feels the first time in months. First, I apologized for what I said, but I informed him the idea was still valid. I then questioned him whether he genuinely visits to her grave and sits for hours on end. He said emphatically that he does not. He waits at her grave for an hour at most, then takes a tour of the city, visiting their favorite spots. He goes to restaurants and asks about her favorite foods, and he drives around the city to her favorite sites. I then inquired as to why. Why was he doing it now, after we just found out I was pregnant after months of trying? He stated he couldn't stop thinking about what it would have been like to raise a kid with Elle, and how many things he would have lost out on with her. He did claim he didn't regret our connection, which made me feel better. I also asked him whether I had disappointed him in any way. Was I a horrible wife or friend? Did I fail to meet his needs? I simply wasn't her, he remarked. To be honest, I'd rather have someone hit me than hear him say that. Finally, I inquired as to when he intends to begin counseling. He replied quickly because he wanted to be a good parent. Fine, I responded, but I don't want someone around my kid who is mourning an imagined child and an imaginary life, when he has a live and breathing family. That's all I got. The same night, he moved out to his parents' place. Her mother did call to inform me that she and my father-in-law had chastised him for what he had done. I thanked them and reminded them that I am still very interested in them having a relationship with my kid, and that they should not suffer for their son's mistake. I also went to see Elle. I apologized for violating my commitment, but expressed my hope that she would be able to keep an eye on hubby and assist him during his rehabilitation. I'd want to thank everyone who assisted me in seeing my errors and how I was ignoring myself. You were all quite helpful, and I owe you all a great deal. Story 2. My 28 female best friend, 33 female, dumps me for every toxic relationship she gets in. My best buddy is a wonderful and kind individual, but she is too trusting of other people's intentions. She's been in toxic relationship after poisonous relationship since I've known her. It isn't only romantic partnerships. She has allowed toxic family members and friends to steal money from her that she never received back. Friends have cheated on her partners and released very sensitive details about her in order to shame her. Yet she has readily forgiven them and returned to trusting them. When I met her, she had just ended a relationship in which she had moved in with him to the opposite side of the nation after the third date. When she arrived, he handed her a set of guidelines to obey. Although not blatantly abusive, the premise of providing a rule list is, but she could only clean on specific days and she had to vacuum the whole home in a predetermined 10-minute time. She was not permitted to sleep with a pillow, but he was permitted to sleep with two. I asked her whether she thought this was an issue at the time. She responded no, that it irritated her, but she didn't see it as abuse. After a few months, he tossed her out on the street and moved another female in a week later. She later met a guy on the internet who was a prototypical player. The only problem is that he made it obvious to her from the start and multiple times throughout that he did not want to be in a relationship, and no one could alter that. She, on the other hand, believed she could. Her behavior had escalated to the point of becoming improper and bordering on harassment. She subsequently met a guy with whom she had great chemistry. A week later, he admits to having a girlfriend, but he likes her, my friend. They begin a romantic connection. He vows that he will go home, notified his girlfriend, and leave the relationship within the following 8 months. He never accomplishes anything and is constantly making an excuse. She continues to trust him and defends his actions. He expresses his desire to marry her and have children. Despite the fact that he still had a girlfriend, they proceeded to plan a wedding and put money down for it. After 3 weeks, they confess their feelings for one another. When the girlfriend digs through his phone one night, she ultimately discovers their texts, and it's clearly for the next 2 weeks. He absolutely ghosts my pal after 2 weeks with no notice. Then she discovers, through Facebook, that he and his girlfriend have announced their engagement. My companion was then forced to bear the financial burden that they both incurred while arranging their own wedding. Even after that, she felt he still wanted to be with her, that he was buying time to leave her, that she had pushed him to propose to her, that it was not his fault. She's now in a new relationship, which won't last long. He's been single for 3 months. He just ended a 10-year marriage because his wife allegedly cheated on him. They've been dating for 2 months. I'm sorry, but I don't believe you can get over a 10-year marriage in which adultery happened in 1 month. He is currently residing in her home, and his 5-year-old daughter will be visiting on weekends. She is plainly nothing more than a prop for his ego. He chronicles every detail of his connection with her on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. He updated all of his profile images to them all at once. He purchased her flowers, but before giving them to her, he let her wait while he snapped multiple photographs of them and then posted them on all of her social media accounts with the caption, "I just bought Hannah flowers." If he makes her a cup of coffee, he makes her wait until he's done shooting and posting "I just made Hannah coffee" on social media. They go for a stroll in the park, nothing unusual. He snaps 100+ pics and instantly posts them. "I just went for a walk with Hannah. She is the best lady I have ever been with." He is obviously still linked to his wife on social media. They aren't divorced yet and won't be for some time, since they haven't blocked one another. All of these postings are visible to his wife. My friend does not perceive any issues. She believes he likes her because he puts every detail of their connection online, not because he's attempting to show that his wife of 10 years may have had a one-night affair with someone else, but because he can have whomever he wants. Nothing is wrong with him. He's a fantastic find who can go on. I haven't spoken anything about her new relationship. I've told her that I wish her the best. Obviously, it will collapse catastrophically. I feel bad for the youngster in question. I offered her nice but honest advice about her previous relationships, and she always agreed with me but never did what I said, which was generally you need to walk away, you're worth more than this, and so on. I'm tired of giving her compassion and cleaning up the pieces every time she enters a relationship since she has no capacity to see when people are taking advantage of her. She never learns from her mistakes. One major problem is that she always cuts me off when she is in a relationship. I'm heartbroken because she hasn't talked to me in 2 months. And when she does talk to me, it's just her telling me that I should cut my ex off, that I should get over it, since she clearly is the relationship expert now that she has the ideal relationship. My ex and I divorced amicably, and our relationship was neither for show or abusive. We are still cordial. We had planned to marry in a few months, but we are now working together to cancel those arrangements. We separated up owing to many concerns with the pandemic, his company failing and causing financial problems, and now the effects it has had on his mental health. He is in a lot of pain and has suffered a nervous breakdown. But my buddy tells me that I should cut him off, that I shouldn't support him or feel sorry for him, that I shouldn't lend him a shoulder to weep on, that I should just move on because it's that simple, right? She speaks down to me because she believes she has suddenly figured out life with her new relationship, whilst I have failed. Is there anything I can do? Say, should I go on? I don't want our friendship to come to an end. She means a great deal to me. I'm afraid I'll never see her again. But when I do get her back, I'll have to pick up the pieces all over again, attempting to keep her from obtaining vengeance and a criminal record. I've stopped her numerous times ready to go to exes' homes to destroy their cars/windows since she can't see past her wrath. It's draining. Update. She's gone to therapy on and off, but every time she starts a new relationship, she cuts the therapist off as well. We have a terrific time together while she is single. Based on the above, her relationships are plainly and fortunately short-lived. I'm sick of providing her pity when she can't learn from her errors. But apart from that, we have a wonderful connection. But, yeah, she plainly does not value me as a friend at the moment. I'm useless to her.